Hello, and welcome to Federal Flash. I'm Nikki McKinney, and I'm joined by Monica Almond. The House markup of the GOP proposal to reauthorize the Higher Education Act, or HEA, efforts to fund the federal government, and the tax reform bill nearing the finish line are all hot topics this week. For more on the HEA reauthorization, let's turn to Monica.
Thanks, Nikki. As we reported a few weeks back, Republican lawmakers in the House introduced the Promoting Real Opportunity, Success, and Prosperity Through Education Reform, or PROSPER Act. The bill is an overhaul of the HEA, which was last reauthorized in 2008. On Tuesday, the House Education Committee held a markup of the proposal. Representative Virginia Foxx, who chairs the committee, said Americans can't afford just a reauthorization of HEA, but need real reform of the law. Democrats, led by Ranking Member Bobby Scott, agree that the law needs to be reworked. However, they expressed frustration with the partisan process through which the bill was developed and argued that the time between introduction of the bill and the markup was too short. After nearly 12 hours of debate and consideration of more than 60 amendments, the committee approved the bill on a party line vote. It now goes to the full House for consideration.
Thanks, Monica. As many of you know, funding for the federal government was set to expire on December 8th. Fortunately, Congress was able to avert a shutdown with 1 day to spare, passing a 2-week spending bill that will now expire on December 22nd. But getting consensus around a longer-term spending bill has proven difficult. Democrats want parity for any defense and non-defense spending boost, while Republicans want to see the Pentagon get the bulk of any spending increase. Congressional leaders must agree to raise spending levels in the next few weeks to avoid the triggering of automatic cuts to both domestic and defense programs. It is expected that Congress will pass another short-term funding measure from December 22nd to January 19th, giving them more time to work out a deal. The shuffle to avoid a shutdown is happening at the same time as Republican leaders are pushing to finish work on the $1 trillion tax plan being hashed out by House and Senate conferees.
That's right, Nikki. And GOP tax writers announced they reached an agreement in principle on a compromise measure that would be voted on next week. With Senate Democrats united in their opposition to the legislation, final passage in that chamber is still uncertain. You may remember that the original Senate version narrowly passed on a 51-49 vote, with Republican Bob Corker opposing the bill. Republicans can only afford to lose 2 votes, with Vice President Mike Pence breaking the tie. If the vote slips into the new year, when Alabama Senator-elect Doug Jones, a Democrat, is sworn in, that margin for error gets even slimmer.
Finally, in other news, the National Center for Education Statistics released data indicating that the national high school graduation rate has reached a new all-time high at 84.1% for the 2015-16 school year, up from 83.2% the previous year. Graduation rates also were up across the board for student subgroups. For example, the graduation rate for Latino students increased from 77.8% to 79.3%. For African American students, it increased from 74.6% to 76.4%. And for low-income students, it increased from 76.1% to 77.6%. However, challenges persist. There is a 12 percentage point graduation rate gap between white students and their African American peers. More, although the graduation rate is increasing, many students are not graduating from high school with the requisite knowledge and skills to be ready for college and a career, as explained in our recent report, Paper Thin. To access graduation rate data for the class of 2016, visit the link below. That's all for now. For an alert when the next episode of Federal Flash is available, email us at alliance@allfored.org. Thanks for watching. Federal Flash is the Alliance for Excellent Education's video series on important developments in education policy in Washington, D.C. in 5 minutes or less.